I love roller coasters. I'm not the biggest fan of spinny rides or the ones with big vertical drops, but roller coasters are my thing. Coincidentally, this week he was in the mood for a healthy dose of nostalgia, so when he asked if I wanted to kick back and build some roller coasters, my eyes lit up. It's been years since either of us have played a tycoon game, but as soon as we saw the title screen, the memories came flooding back, and we both strapped in for a RollerCoaster Tycoon Date Night. You can say go.
I did it like with you, like as a team player. As a team player. This is gonna blow out my eardrums. Yep, I was right.
See, it's like a nice volume for me.
I'm glad.
If you were one of the kids buying this game at a Scholastic book fair, then it's safe to say you were the talk of the town at recess that day. Growing up, I hardly got to touch the tycoons because they belonged to my brother, but every now and then I got my chance. Aside from occasionally diving into Mall Tycoon, roller coasters have always been my favorite. I had no idea what I was doing back then, and not much has changed in the years since. Luckily, I've got a partner who knows a thing or two about running a virtual theme park. What was that sound?
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I always loved stuff like this. Like, I used to look at this stuff as a kid and be like, I wish I could, like, explore out here because my park is all over here.
Probably the most hysterical part of the evening was how many times he opened up the wrong menu or window trying to WASD when he was supposed to be using the arrow keys.
So when you come in, let's have...
Yeah, you want people to get really excited.
There's a tree in the way of that footpath.
We will go around the tree.
I'm having a hard time. I'm spending money on shit that I shouldn't be.
The game goes way back, and I know I felt the first wave of nostalgia crashing on me as soon as I saw him go to save. Having to save files in a file explorer like this was a Word document had me trying to remember if we played this on a CD-ROM or a floppy disk way back when. Another thing is that pausing in this game is actual pausing, not like RimWorld or Sims where the pause menu is where you get all your building done.
Oh, I can't actually do things while the game is paused. Pausing in this game is pausing in the traditional sense of pausing. Okay.
Okay.
So you know how like when we pause in RimWorld, that's when you do a lot of your like building?
Yeah.
In this game, pausing is what you do when your mom asks you to walk the dog and you said you were going to do it for like the third or fourth time, but you're just really trying to finish building this roller coaster and you can't build while paused. The park is closed, I just realized.
Since we can't pause the game, all the building takes place in real time with people walking around the park. We'd usually build paths to try and plan out and organize how we wanted things to look and where we wanted things to go. The problem was the two of us can be a little indecisive at times, and we'd sometimes erase all the work we did and start fresh. Of course, this meant that any of the suckers who wandered out along our schematics looking for a ride were now stranded in the middle of a forest, scared, alone, and confused.
I'm gonna remove this path.
That person was like, I guess I'm walking.
They're like, I don't know where to go.
Oh, that person's gonna get super lost.
Yeah, good for them. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't even have close to enough money to build this thing.
If we were feeling generous, we'd pick them up and drop them back on the path, but that's only if we actually noticed them in the first place.
Look how many people are just like in this one area. And then there's just this one guy. Come here, buddy. I'll get you back on track. There you go.
We were trying to figure out when he played his first RollerCoaster Tycoon game, and I think we landed somewhere around first grade. I figured this was gonna be a cakewalk, because surely he's learned a thing or two in the 20-some-odd years since then. But boy was I mistaken. Something about these old games just make us revert back to our childhoods and start acting like 5-year-olds again.
I feel as though we need a little bit, like, we need to think a little bigger, right?
Okay.
I was in like first grade or something when I was playing this for the first time. We need to think a little bit bigger than first grade, okay?
Back when I was super into Mall Tycoon, I'd spend hours meticulously picking out stores and organizing the mall before going bankrupt on the grand opening. As it turns out, he and I have that in common, because he'd do the same thing in RollerCoaster Tycoon, but with all the food and drink stalls. He'd always plunge himself into debt by taking out a huge loan on a roller coaster, and then proceed easy to lose his ass on it. It might have helped if he'd remembered to set the admission price to something other than free. Either way, I want to know what kind of insurance they had on that loan they handed to a 5-year-old opening a theme park.
Ferb, I know what we're gonna do today.
In his defense, he was building the park that he wanted to go to, and that meant no expense spared. He wanted everyone to have the time of their lives, but nowadays, adult him is all about maximizing the profits. Truly a fall from grace and the death of childhood innocence, as he looks into the margin of every hamburger sold and finds the exact price he needs in order to milk his poor customers for every penny they're worth. I know they're just little digital people, but I still feel really bad about gouging them. Every time he increases the price of something, I get a little uncomfortable and shift around in my seat, but to no one's surprise, they just kept coming.
So I'll just throw one here. And then we'll charge a premium for drinks since they're deeper into the park.
He's not completely greedy though. Allegedly, my boyfriend had friends who would charge people to use the bathroom in their theme parks, and he always thought they were mean. Not only does he allow you to use the restroom for free in his parks, but the balloons are also on the house. Hopefully that makes up for him raising the price of umbrellas at the kiosk whenever it starts raining.
Look, they have umbrellas.
Oh my god.
They're all getting umbrellas from the kiosk.
Left to my own devices in this game, I don't think I get a single thing done. I do a lot of overthinking, and it's easy to forget we've got a deadline to meet here. We let him be action man and I handle ideas. Life's just better that way. When I'm at the wheel, I complain about not making any money for half an hour before he comes over and diagnoses that while I open my park, I failed to open any of my rides or stalls.
Why is nobody riding it? Where is everybody? Look at them all lining up for the log ride. Alright, whatever. We got a Ferris wheel. We wanted to put that somewhere.
When it comes to designing a custom ride, there's a lot you can do. It's important that whatever you come up with is able to loop back on itself though, because if you aren't careful, then you'll end up with a cool ride that's just for decoration. He had the opposite problem, where all he cared about was making sure that whatever he did had a surefire way to come full circle. The result was him building what some may consider the most boring log ride in the history of log rides.
Oh my god, that is a slow ride. Oh no. That is a boring ride. Look at that. Wow. They're gonna be riding longer than they waited to get on.
It's hard not to get carried away when building a ride and spending way too much money on it, especially the roller coasters, because it's just so fun to add a bunch of twists and turns. Nothing hurts like being halfway through construction and then not being able to afford the next segment. Then there's a dilemma of whether or not to leave some half-finished piece of junk in the middle of our park till we can afford to finish it, or bulldozing the whole thing and moving on to greener pastures.
They're like scared. Here they go.
You've got to make sure that you keep plenty of handymen on duty near the exits of the roller coasters with a high nausea rating. Keeping a tidy park is important for earning a better rating. Not only does it keep the guests happy, but not having to see the little puddles everywhere helps the girlfriend stay happy too. The biggest problem is these handymen will spend months trying to mow all the grass in the park if you let them, so you gotta make sure that they know their job.
We need our handyman to stop mowing grass and to clean. Basically, he needs to clean up the sidewalks.
I see.
Right here, buddy. Start cleaning.
In terms of finances, the little kid brain kind of takes the stick again. In general, it's way more fun to spend money on things. Even though we're old enough now to know that investing into other areas is good for the future of our theme park, we can't change the colors and rename the future like we can with a roller coaster. We dumped money into research and marketing when we had some to spare, but I promise you that we didn't think to check what we were researching.
Egyptian theming. Do we even care about that?
Playing through the different scenarios is all fun and games, but some of the longer ones can get a little boring. When we're well above our guest number and park rating, but still have a year or two to go before the deadline, we sort of lose interest in the park. You get a lot of waiting around for the days to go by, and with no option to speed up or fast forward, our attention spans start to get worn out. Wait, you forgot an exit.
Oh, there's a way to leave. There they go. Look, there's two of them in the car. There's only one way out.
On a one run, the two of us end up getting up and walking away from the game for 10 minutes at a time. Usually all that happens when we come back is the scrambled egg ride is broken for the 50th time, and that's about it. If we're too impatient to wait for our success, then the only logical thing to do is race towards our demise. The worst case scenario is that we want to speed up the game in our own way and we turn into nihilists. Somehow the evening always devolves into the two of us losing our basic human empathy and turning our cute little theme park into a living hell with free balloons. Give it enough time, the two of us either adopt or kidnap two park goers and name them after ourselves. We usually pick them out based on the color of their t-shirt.
So let's find a Tarny.
Yeah.
There's a pink one.
And if they were unlucky enough to be chosen, then they just earned a lifetime pass to the theme park because they're never allowed to leave. We go out of our way to build them an isolated spot with everything they could ever want, but it still doesn't make them happy.
And then their god, they need something to worship, will be this giant elephant.
Elephant?
Did I say elephant? I meant giraffe.
You know we've reached the point of no return when we start making the death coasters. Creating coasters with the sole intention of seeing how far we can jettison the guests into the air and make them explode usually happens around the time we've run out of ideas for what to build.
I love how dramatic it is when it happens over water.
Like a child tormenting a colony of ants, we just start causing havoc for the sake of entertainment. We're really testing the mettle of our safest park award. But in all fairness, was it ever that safe to begin with?